Calling in from Gamescom all the way across the world, we have Ben Reeves.
Hello.
And Suriel Vasquez.
Hello.
Devil May Cry 5, basically, we played as Nero, who is sort of like the character introduced in 4, who has now one arm, because he used to have the Devil Breaker, or the Devil Bringer, but now he lost that, and so now he has like a line of robotic arms called Devil Breakers.
Perfect.
And so this basically works like it's basically an extra ability you have that has a limited number of uses. So the two that we had in our demo was one of them basically was like an electric shock that you could use to sort of really like finish off enemies or deal a lot of damage. And the other one was this, I don't remember what the name of it was, but it was basically this thing that gave you extra aerial maneuverability when you used it in the air. And so that let you sort of like attack a couple times, sort of dodge in the air and attack again. And so these had limited uses. And when you run out of uses, your arm just like straight up like explodes. And you don't have an arm, but you can still use sort of like the key ability that Nero had in 4, which is using his arm to sort of reel in enemies that are small and sort of like lunge at enemies that are like larger. Yeah. So like boss characters, you grapple towards. It's not as intricate as it was in DMC, where you can just do it independently of whatever size the enemy was. Yeah. But like it felt great. Like I being able to string that stuff into combos and. Obviously, they have sort of a Devil May Cry staple, which is like attack, and if you pause, sort of like if you hold off on pressing the next button, he'll do a different attack. So it's like basically 2 buttons in one, depending on how long you hold the button down or whatever. There's a character called Nico who's going to be your shopkeeper, and she was sort of this very like she had like this very thick Southern accent and was kind of like giving Nero a lot of shit. It's a really fun like dynamic that those two characters have. The camera is sort of it's more closely in line with DMC than it was with like Devil May Cry 4, which kind of used those sort of Resident Evil-esque sort of established shots that you kind of ran around in, versus this just follows the character from a behind the back perspective. And so I got to talk to them a little bit, and they said that like the biggest they took that away from DMC a little bit, and they also took away some of the stylish effects. Like they really talked up how stylish DMC was, and they basically said like, we want a piece of that. We want to like adapt some of that stuff. So like some of the slow-mo kills are in there. Like obviously the camera's a little different. The way music is integrated into combat is different basically. So as you do better and better combos, the music starts to layer on, which is really it's a really cool effect.
Yeah. That was the coolest part I thought, is like as you did better, your score increased, the music increased and swelled more. Yeah. And I wasn't playing, so we didn't get to hear the really good music, but it did seem like it got cooler and better. Yeah. And then worse a lot.
Got it.
Yeah.
So overall, Stereo, like it plays better than you thought. Did you leave with a hot impression here?
I think sort of my biggest question going into it is that with Bayonetta having been around, and basically the entirety of Bayonetta has taken place in the absence of like a Japanese developed Devil May Cry game.
Yeah.
So
that is weird to think about.
So I was curious to see how these two would differ, and it's hard to sort of, even after playing it, it's hard to sort of pinpoint where those differences lie. But I feel like, okay, after having played a new Devil May Cry game, I feel like these are two distinct series now, even if I can't like exactly tell you sort of like the math of why. I feel like Devil May Cry like has earned its place as sort of distinct from Bayonetta and other games like God of War, especially since God of War is so different now.
Yeah.
And they mentioned that like sort of my biggest concern was like how common ammo for those arms will be, because basically if you use them all, you're basically going to be out like one of the game's like biggest strengths. And they said like they want you to have it as often as possible, but think about like on a per counter basis, think about like, okay, I can use this thing maybe X more times.
Yeah.
And there's just sort of like, they give you every incentive to try to use it, because at the end you're sort of scored based on your combos and how much damage you do it, how quickly you did it. But you're not scored on how many of those arms you had left.
Yeah. So
basically any arms you didn't use are basically combos and damage that you left on the table. So you want to use those as much as possible, because you talked about sort of the problem of like, when I'm playing an RPG, I end up with like 99 elixirs because I never use any of them. So I want to incentivize players to use these arms as often as they have them.
Use your arms, everybody. That's how you play games these days.
Arms.
That was just a clip from a larger show called The Game Informer Show. You can find it on iTunes, Google Play, or GameInformer.com. We take the fun opportunities and exclusive information from Game Informer magazine and boil it into a show that airs every Thursday with exclusive cover story information, developer interviews, a lot of fun stuff. So come love games with us.